Psychology says some children don't lose their childhood in a single moment. There's no dramatic goodbye, no final day of innocence. It simply fades, quietly, invisibly, until one day they look around and realize the weight they're carrying was never meant for someone their size. This is the story of the child who grew up too fast. And chances are, you know exactly who that child is. 1. The weight before the words. There's a term psychologists use, parentification. It describes what happens when a child is handed emotional responsibilities that belong to the adults around them, managing a parent's feelings, keeping the peace, being the stable one in an unstable home. The brain, in its quiet brilliance, adapts. It learns to suppress, to regulate, to hold everything together. But in doing so, it also learns something far more damaging, that their own feelings are a luxury they simply cannot afford. They didn't choose strength. Strength chose them because nothing else showed up. 2. When asking feels dangerous. Developmental psychology tells us something striking. Children who cannot rely on consistent support stop expecting it, not because they stopped needing it, but because hoping and being disappointed became more painful than never hoping at all. So they go quiet. They handle things alone. They build walls that look like capability. And as adults, they move through the world appearing composed, competent, unshakable, while somewhere underneath, a younger version of them is still waiting for someone to finally show up. 3. The mind that aged unevenly. Here is something rarely talked about. Growing up too fast doesn't mean growing up completely. Psychology explains that when emotional development is rushed, it doesn't mature evenly. Some parts accelerate far beyond their years. Others stay frozen, untouched, still waiting for experiences they never got. The result is a person who can navigate a crisis with terrifying calm, yet fall apart over being told they're loved. Wise in ways that impress strangers, confused in ways they can barely explain to themselves. They missed the lesson that taught them it was safe to need someone. 4. Rest as a warning sign. For most people, stillness is a reward. For someone who grew up too fast, it's a threat. When things went quiet in their childhood, it usually meant something was coming, the calm before the chaos. So their nervous system never fully learned to exhale. Even now, doing nothing feels irresponsible. Peace feels suspicious. They feel most like themselves when they're needed, because being needed was once the only way they knew they were safe. Psychology calls this chronic stress adaptation. The body kept the score long after the moment passed. 5. The guilt of being cared for. Here's the painful paradox. Research shows that people who carried too much too soon often develop a deep, almost automatic guilt around receiving. If someone is taking care of me, I must be burdening them. If I'm resting, someone else is suffering. If I ask for help, I am the problem. So they shrink their needs down to almost nothing. They apologize for wanting. They deflect care with humor or competence. Receiving love doesn't feel like relief, it feels like debt, and that is one of the loneliest feelings in the world. 6. The gift and the guard. There is something profound that grows from surviving emotional complexity young. Attunement. They read rooms. They feel shifts in energy before a word is spoken. They anticipate pain before it arrives. In many ways, their emotional radar is extraordinary. But psychology reminds us that this awareness came at a cost. They learned to sense everything because they had to protect themselves from everything. And so the same sensitivity that makes them deeply empathetic also keeps them guarded. They know better than most what it means to give without boundaries and how much it takes from you. If you grew up carrying more than you should have, psychology doesn't look at you and see damage. It sees adaptation. It sees a nervous system that did exactly what it needed to do to get you through. You learned responsibility before you learned safety. You learned strength before you learned softness. And somewhere along the way, you may have forgotten that you were never supposed to do this alone. Healing isn't about dismantling who you became. It's about finally giving that child, the one who held everything together, permission to put it down. You've been responsible long enough. Is it possible you're still carrying weight that was never yours to begin with? And if someone told you it was okay to set it down, would you even know how?